Sometimes the most devastating mistakes come cloaked in the disguise of a harmless joke. Believe me when I say, this one shattered everything I thought I understood about love. My name is Sarah, I'm 28, and I'm about to share how 5 careless words alter the entire course of my life. Jake wasn't the type I imagined falling for. He wasn't the rebellious bad boy on a motorcycle or the suave businessman in tailored suits. No, Jake was simply Jake, the guy who remembered I hated onions on my pizza, the one who'd drive 40 minutes just to bring me soup when I was sick, the one who'd patiently listen to my endless complaints about work without a hint of boredom. We met in college through mutual friends, and somehow, 3 years later, we found ourselves in this undefined, beautiful space, acting like a couple but without any official title. I told myself I was protecting us both from the pressures of commitment, but deep down I knew the truth. I was scared. Scared of losing him. Scared of ruining what we had. Scared of admitting that this quiet, steady love was exactly what I needed. Jake never pushed me, never demanded grand gestures or labels. He simply showed up every day with his easy smile and patient eyes. Maybe that's why I took him for granted. Because love this safe, this natural, this steady doesn't feel dramatic enough to be real. Everything changed one night out with the girls. We were chatting about relationships when my friend Emma asked me, blunt and teasing, "So, when are you finally going to marry Jake?" The table erupted in laughter. Everyone except me recognizing the obvious answer. Without thinking, I rolled my eyes and blurted, "Oh, please. Jake's just my backup plan, the safe choice for when I'm done being young and stupid." The laughter around me was light, but inside, something twisted sharply. Because Jake wasn't my backup plan. He was my first choice, my only choice, my everything. But I'd grown so comfortable in our undefined space, I forgot the world was watching. More importantly, I forgot that words, even the ones we throw out in jest, carry weight. What I didn't know was that Emma's boyfriend was Jake's roommate. And within 24 hours, Jake had heard every word. The next day started like any other. Jake texted me, "Good morning," as usual, and we made dinner plans. But when he called that afternoon, there was something different in his voice, a distance I hadn't noticed before. Politeness laced with an unspoken tension made my chest tighten. Dinner was painfully quiet. Jake ordered as usual, asked about my day, and listened as I recounted the mundane details, but his responses felt rehearsed, like he was going through the motions of caring. Then, as dessert arrived, he looked at me with those patient eyes I adored and said softly, "I heard what you said last night about me being your backup plan." My heart stopped. It wasn't anger or hurt in his voice. It was resignation, as if he had finally understood a truth everyone else saw but he hadn't. I tried to laugh it off, to explain it was just a stupid joke, that I didn't mean it. But Jake only nodded slowly and said, "I know you probably didn't mean to hurt me, but you meant what you said, even if you don't realize it." He was right. Deep down, I'd been treating him like my safety net, a steady presence while I figured out what I really wanted. The worst part was that he'd allowed it because he loved me enough to be whatever I needed, even if it meant being second choice. Jake paid the bill, walked me in my car, and kissed my forehead, the way he always did. But this time, that kiss felt different. It was a goodbye. "I'm going to step back for a while," he said gently. "We both need space to figure out what we actually want." I wanted to argue, to beg him to stay, to tell him I already knew the truth, that it was him, always him. But the words caught in my throat. How do you convince someone you love them when you've spent 3 years proving the opposite? 3 weeks later, I saw Jake at our favorite coffee shop. He was with a woman I didn't know, someone confident and carefree, laughing at his jokes with the same easy comfort I thought belonged only to me. They looked natural together, perfectly in sync. When Jake noticed me, he gave me that polite, distant smile you give to someone you used to know well. That's when I realized Jake hadn't just stepped back. He had stepped forward into a life that didn't include me. The backup plan he'd patiently waited to activate had been replaced by someone who saw him as their first choice from day one. If you're watching this and have someone who loves you quietly, consistently, without drama, don't call them your backup plan. Don't treat their love like it's guaranteed, because one day they'll realize they deserve to be someone's first choice. And when that day comes, They won't be waiting anymore. The person you think will always be there, they won't. Especially not when you keep telling the world they're just your fallback option. Trust me, I learned this lesson the hardest way possible. Have you ever lost someone because you took their love for granted? Let me know in the comments. Because this kind of pain hits differently when you realize you had everything and threw it away with careless words.